Okay. Now we're live. You know what the funniest thing is about technology is it always f's up when it's not supposed to. That is the most crazy. Like we were on time this time, guys. I promise you we was. I hit the button. I was like, hey, 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 welcome, welcome,
We were
welcome.
talking to each other.
And then it just, yeah, then it just looked stupid. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't know if we're live, what's going on? And she said, let me check. And then, yeah, here we go.
Happy Sunday.
Yes, the second day of Black History Month. I think you have something on. I have
Future
my
month.
Malcolm X shirt. I don't.
Oh, let's go. We ready?
Yeah. So we're trying to turn up. I know I had pulled something up. I was like, just in honor of Black History Month, we got to give a shout out to somebody, something, a fun fact. But the quickest thing that I pulled up, and it just so happens we are going to it always steers into politics somehow, some way. So let's give a shout out to Shirley Chisholm. In 1968, Shirley Chisholm became the first Black woman elected to Congress. So definitely shout out, shout out, shout out, because she's paved the way for many, many, many people of color,
Mm-hmm.
of diversity,
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead. Yes,
Just
to go ahead and make a way. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all that tune in now, later, and
Yes, we already got like, hey y'all from Atlanta.
yes.
We got Z and Toya shouting out from Brooklyn.
Hey,
So,
hey, hey, hey. Thanks,
happy
thanks for
Sunday. Thank
tuning
you for
in.
joining
And
us.
and like I always say, even if you tune in now, later, just thanks in general, because we sometimes have people comment, and they have their viewpoints. So I'm like, hey, let's ride with it. But I want to talk about some things.
Oh, let's talk.
So today is the second, and if I'm not mistaken, the president has been in office now for 2 weeks. Going on 2 weeks, maybe.
Long 2 weeks.
All right. And there has been quite an uproar on different things, such as DEI. I titled today's podcast, DEI Must Die, for the
Mm-hmm.
simple fact that Elon Musk said it. Elon Musk has been tweeting that for many, many times. He started last year, the year before that, especially when he jumped on the campaign trail with Donald Trump. And he was talking about how DEI must die. And now it became a catchphrase. Unfortunately, we just had the plane collision with the Black Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, thank you, Earl, 12 days he's been in office.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of a normal response, we're going to wait till the investigation proceeds. We're going to have the professionals take a look at it. We're grieving for the families. America's, is mourning as well. He ends up talking about how it's because of DEI. He alludes to that. There is, just a recap, the news reporter then says to him, well, how do you know? And he says, well, because I have common sense. Not too many people have common sense, but I have common sense.
That was it. That's all he needs to know.
But just to hear, just to put that on in a parking lot real quick, every single thing that happens is because of DEI.
Well, and wait, it's DEI and the illegal immigrants. Don't forget when the shit just went down in New Orleans with the guy driving through the crowds. The first thing he said, it's just the illegal immigrants. This was a veteran, an American citizen.
Yes. So just if you didn't know, if you was hiding behind a tree, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Bad words, all of them.
And you know what? I don't
Mhm.
think that my audience doesn't know what diversity means, doesn't know what equity means, and inclusion. So we're not going to break it down even further. But I do know there's different people who come on like, well, I don't listen to the news. So that's exactly what it stands for.
Right.
And I want to ask you, I want to put you on the spot real quick, Liz. I want to ask you, because as you may not know, affirmative action is gone. There is no more affirmative action.
No more
It's
that.
been gone. It's not something that's new. It's been gone. My question for you, can you please tell the audience the difference, if there is a difference between affirmative action and DEI? Because a lot of people are grouping them together. It's the same thing. That's why we shouldn't have it.
That is a good question. You also have the Equal Opportunity Act, right? So they're all branches from the same tree, if you would, right?
Okay.
And so in terms of the actual differences, as far as I can tell, and this is me speaking honestly from just what I know,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
right?
We don't
So
have to be experts. Go ahead.
action kind of institutes quotas, if you would, right? You kind of have to have a certain amount of people that you at least interview for a position.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. DEI is actually more of a developing a community within a company. It's not hard numbers per se in terms of 20% has to be this, 5% have to be that, or within reason. And by the way, that was always within reason. I mean, if you were in Norway, if it was an American company in Norway and you couldn't find anybody black, it was okay, right? But you couldn't just not interview people because their name sounded black. Was
Mhm.
kind of the point there, right? But the diversity, equity, and inclusion was meant to be more so to make it a more agreeable environment in
Mhm.
different corporations and government agencies and so on and so forth, that you were going to go out of your way to not be um, but to be inclusive, I think is a better way to say that. Yeah.
Okay. So if I hear you, you're basically saying one has to do with the numbers. Hey,
Hmm.
we have to have 20% this, 20% that, blah, 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 blah. And the other one is like, hey, let's just have a group of people because diversity can make a better company, better ideas, better different this and this.
Right.
And we're including everybody. We're not going to go ahead and say, hey, we are lowering standards. We're not going to go ahead and say, hey, we want one or the other. Instead of just looking at all white men, we're going to look at white men, Hispanic women, Asian men, African American, black women, or whatever that is. We're just including everybody in the pool. So you're
Yes.
telling me that the LA fires had nothing to do with DEI?
No.
I'm just saying that, and I'm sorry, bad joke.
It
I'm
didn't
just
have to do with the DEI. It didn't have to do with Jewish space lasers. It didn't have to do with the immigrants.
why do you think the propaganda, and it's working, because that's what got us here in the first place.
Hmm.
Donald Trump ended up playing on people's fears. You had some people just said, fuck it, I don't even care for the Democrats anymore, whatever it is. Some people didn't even go out and vote, but Donald Trump and his party played on people's fears. Is there a reason why you have a certain sector? And I don't want to hear about ignorance. I won't accept it anymore that it's ignorance. I will not
Okay.
accept the fact it's ignorance, because people understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion means.
Hmm.
Everybody on this planet, unless you have a second grade reading level, understand what those words mean. I want to pull back the layer, and I want the layer to be, I wanted to expose the scab for what it is.
Hmm.
White people and their population, Caucasian Americans and their population, are decreasing in numbers from all types of statistics.
Hmm.
And because of the fear that's going on, they're trying to scramble in any way to say, hey, we need to say, get rid of this DEI, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of this, and get rid of this. I would like to talk about a real honest conversation
Hmm.
about this topic, and not like, oh, yeah, they just didn't know, they don't read a book. Would you be in agreement to say this is the real reason why he won? This is the real reason why he was able to tap into the fears of white America, because this is who's standing. His administration is not playing any games with us.
Okay, well, and not that you meant it that way, but just for additional extra clarification, I do not think it is all white people, right?
No, I said the ones
It
his.
is the majority of the white people that support this administration and their goals. And
Yeah,
but let me qualify that even further. I wouldn't say a majority like 90%. I think it's maybe 60% of them. I think the other 40% are really those people that don't watch the news, don't know, don't really want to know.
we're not talking about them.
We're not talking about them. So we're talking about the 60% of the racist assholes that this is actually their plan. Yeah. So I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's extremely deliberate. And I think that they have been so plain spoken about it that it is ignorant of us to be shocked, right? Because when one thing that's been standing out to me very loudly, right, when he said the immigrants are taking all the black jobs, and then he's taking DEI away, which means he's taking all the black people out of the white jobs. I think that kind of explained the tier system, did it not? Is that not pretty clear? Like, we don't want you here, and we understand you need someplace to go, so we're going to blame these people and put you there. But the jobs the immigrants are taking are not the DEI jobs, to be clear, right? And
Mhm.
those two things to me kind of go hand in hand. And it is not just black jobs or black people, it's also women. I don't know
I
if you
want
pay attention to that. They don't want women in a lot of positions anymore. That's a problem.
I want to make sure I include the audience as well. Have you seen in your own passing the standards being lowered? I can say, being prior military, there have been times where standards have been lowered,
Yes.
but they have went back up. Now, I'm not currently in the military. I'm not serving currently, so I can't justify to say currently as this day, has something fluctuated. But in your own employment, in your own, circles, have you seen standards lowered just to bring somebody in to say, you know what, we need
Yes.
to hire some more Liz's out there. Let's go ahead because she's a girl. Let's bring her in.
No. So yes and no, right? Have the standards changed? Yes, they've changed. Some of it's changed because some of the stuff we had before was just stupid shit, right? So one of the standards that you couldn't have before was no tattoos,
Hmm.
right? And so if you ever at any point in your life, if you were 18, 19, 20, and you decided to get a tattoo on your hand of a smiley face, you were forever disqualified from an entire realm of jobs. So we changed the standard. I don't think that that's lowering a standard, but that is changing a standard to adapt to the fact that today, who doesn't really have a tattoo? Like, how many people do you know that really don't have tattoos, right? So I wouldn't call that a lowering of a standard. We've also changed like obesity standards, and I'm speaking specifically right now about, say, the military, for example, obesity standards, but not to accommodate a certain race of people or anything, just to basically get around the fact that Americans are generally speaking fat flex, myself included, right? And if you wanted a certain Kate Moss type person in the military, we would have no military, right? And I'm talking Kate Moss in the 90s. I don't know what she looks
So
like. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting so passionate right now. We, the people, have to push so when they say, hey, it's DEI, we got to get rid of it. This is the reason why the things are to blame. We have to push back and say, you know what? DEI got you where you are right now.
Period.
The press secretary, is standing where she is with no experience because of
Yep.
DEI. She would
That's
not
it.
even be at the table.
100%. Yes.
What's his name?
Right. Right.
What's his name again?
Pete Hexa.
Yes, Hexeth.
Fuckface.
I think he's DEI. He has no business running any department of anything except
No.
for Alcohol's Anonymous.
Literally, you took it out of my mouth. See, but he's a perfect example of the lowering of the standard, right? Because once upon a time, if you were an alcoholic, if you've ever abused a woman, if you know what I mean, everything else, then you couldn't do certain things. But we have such lowered standards now that
So we want to go to the comment real quick.
okay.
Definitely everybody who's chimed in who says hello. Yes, thank you. Hello, evening. Thank you, Earl, once again for telling me it was 12 days since he's been in office. And I promise you, I'm about to rip the fucking band-aid off to let you know all the shit he has been doing.
Girl, it's
But
bad.
Alistair,
Alistair said, I think it's a combination of a dwindling population. In addition, folks are over the super liberal BS and the alphabet soup. Here's what I don't understand. They want to eliminate DEI because they want the best candidates for these jobs. But wouldn't you want to get started with his cabinet? None of them have any experience, right? Winslow said that white women are at the top of beneficiaries of many DEI initiatives. Let me read that one more time. White women are the top beneficiaries of any DEI
you know
initiative.
what's interesting? They broke the statistic down because a lot of people were shocked. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people were shocked that Trump said that the reason why possibly the accident happened with the planes was because DEI.
I love
And
that.
they said white men are in that position at 96%.
Hmm.
96%. Where were the standards lowered?
I
And
mean,
and
the air
and, and,
traffic
and,
controllers too, though. Air traffic controllers also majority white men.
yes.
So is it the one Hispanic guy that flew a plane, the one woman from India that flew a plane? Like, come on, think about this. This is crazy.
So we also got, like we just mentioned, Hexeth, but now we have Patel with the FBI.
Oh,
That
with the
he's just a
FBI.
straight liar. That man is just, I don't even know what's happening there. I
No,
want to ask,
you got to talk about that. When you say Patel's a liar, tell the folks some of the things that Patel has lied about.
Well, it's funny because they always play this one video over all the time talking about, they want to gut the FBI and make it a museum
Mm-hmm.
for the Deep South to,
But
to
what's going on
visit.
at the FBI now?
Well, the crazy thing is they asked him, they quoted him literally during the hearing. They quoted and said, "Hey, now what is this about making it a museum and defunding and blah, blah, blah?" And he was, "I've never said that. I'm
Never.
offended. How dare you?"
Mm-mm.
Bold-faced lie. But you know what? I believe he will be voted in, and I will believe that he'll be the director of the FBI.
Do you know how many other lies he's told?
Oh,
He was also the lead prosecutor for Benghazi. The lead prosecutor. If he sharpened a pencil toward that case, somebody please let me know, because it has been said over and over that he was not like he was
so
not even on the team.
So
So
to, so to go a little bit deeper into the whole DEI, we have a lot of companies as well that are jumping on the bandwagon and saying, "Hey, we're not doing this DEI initiative anymore." I'm going to read a couple. They're more than what I'm reading, but I just want to put that out there. Walmart, Amazon, Mickey D's, Meta, Target, and Boeing.
mm,
The
do they
frustrating
not
thing,
want?
I didn't hear you.
They don't want DEI customers either.
Well, here's the kicker. So the issue that I have with these companies
Okay.
saying that we are getting rid of the DEI initiative, we're not doing this anymore. And like I said, there's many more. I just read those off to you. Is the issue that even though you have some people saying that I'm going to boycott these actual industries and these companies to get my voice and get my opinion across, these companies are still with other companies backing them. When you have the BET Awards, who sponsored them? Walmart, Mickey D's.
Hmm.
When you have certain things, when are we going to finally say we are not utilizing their products? They had a walk-in at Costco because Costco said they still will be doing DEI. And Al Sharpton went with like a whole group of entourage people, cameras and everything. He did the slow walk. He's looking around. He's looking at the eggs, the produce. This is the store people we're going to be buying from Costco. And for me, I'm like, what for what? Why are we doing this? Why? Because we're representing
Hmm.
Costco and they're holding the fort down. I'm so lost. Why do we pick and choose? Why does Black America pick and choose when we're going to be in an uproar and when we're not? These companies were never for you to fuck to begin with. Walmart and Wells Fargo and McDonald's were never for you to begin with. But for some strange reason, we're in an uproar now. Oh my God, they stopped. Target, I can't believe it. Why is it now we're in an uproar? We wasn't in an uproar last year when Wells Fargo was stealing from so many millions of African American people. We were in an uproar. We weren't boycotting. Why are we still depositing checks in there? I don't understand what's happening.
No. That's a completely valid point, right? The thing is, at least before they were pretending, you know what I mean? And we hired DEI and so on and so forth. Like I said, it's so funny because what they won't tell you is that they don't want, they're not going to stop you from coming in the shop if you don't fit the perfect American profile, right? But they might stop you from working there.
Well, they want
You
the
know what I
money.
mean? They might stop you from moving up into upper management. They might stop you from everything else. And so, as an individual, because we know that I'm anti-cancel culture, but as an individual, I think that you need to like make your mind up and be savvy. You don't even have to always get online and post your stuff all over the world and
Well,
everything else, right? But here's the funny thing is, ask me how often I go to Walmart. Like in a year, in a whole year. And you know why? Because a long time ago I decided that they were shutting down all the mom and pop shops. You know, where I'm from, they don't even allow Walmart in the city. Like
well,
it's not
but
there.
one thing,
For
I guess my frustration is once again, here we are as a community, as brown people in a community where we're reactive. We're never, ever, ever proactive. You know me, I'm all about, prepping, right? As much as I can. Years ago, I'm like, hey, don't you see what's happening? Don't you see what's happening? I get on TikTok, social media, yeah, and where are all the black companies? Let's get a list of black companies and black people that we could and Latino and where we can go ahead and buy from them only. Why are you doing that now? Why are you doing it? It's too late now. It is literally too late now. It's
not
too
too
late.
late though. I'd rather
It's too
be back
late.
than never. I think it's
I
now
think
rather
it's
than
too late
never,
now.
Thea.
Why do
No,
you think there's still
no.
hope?
I think that now is better than never. I mean, it's not like, oh well, I wasn't mad at McDonald's yesterday. I guess I won't have my Big Mac tomorrow. I mean, it's it's we got, you know what, we have to start somewhere. It was stupid to begin with. We should have never gone along with it to begin with. But you know what? Let me challenge you, Kia. You ever find that you say something and the response that you get, no matter how logical what you're saying is, right? You say something and people go, well, that's a little extreme. Are you familiar with what I'm talking? You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? There are so many things that and then you never want to be that person. You don't want to be the person with the soapbox and the blowhorn on the corner that everybody's annoyed with. You know what I mean? So you start to try to bring it down. But I know, just was it last year? You correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't like Beyonce bring out new liquor? And I'm like, yes, because that's what we need, is another liquor to appeal to the black community, right? That's what we need, is another liquor store in the black community. That's what we need, is another McDonald's in the black community. You know what? They'll really fucking impress me when they start opening up a black version of Whole Foods. How about bringing some healthy food into the neighborhood instead of another fucking bottle of liquor? And it's all of them, right? Because she's not the only one. Who doesn't have a bottle of liquor? Who doesn't, right? Because is that what the community needs? Is that what we want to support in terms of black owned? Like, why? That's ridiculous, right? Even when you look at black owned hair products and so on and so forth, why do they sell for 3 times as much as the products that are intended for everybody else? Does it have to be? It doesn't have to be that way. So even when you are black owned and black supported, we're supporting people from us that don't support us. That's
Well,
also a problem. But you know what? We got to start
I
somewhere,
guess
and that's
how
fine for
I
some
guess how
fun.
I feel about it's too late. The reason why I say it's too late is because if you haven't noticed, the federal government, and this is anybody in the administration, is shutting everything down systematically, one by one. He's literally shutting things down as we're speaking right now, talking, as the Grammys are going on a different channel. I promise you, he
Mm-hmm.
is beginning to do proposals and different things and putting legislation together to shut shit down as we are speaking
Mm-hmm.
in real time. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember Bannon saying, we're going to flood the system so hard with so much stuff. You're not going to be able to
You don't
say,
know
hey,
where to
I'm
go.
boycotting this one thing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it's all these different things all at once.
It's everything. Would you go sit under your house? I mean, where would you go to boycott everything that you have an issue with, or that we should have an issue with?
But I guess my issue
There's a,
is if we're saying that, because we all have gripes about Amazon, I suppose, and Walmart and Mickey D's, and it's not good for the community. We all had these different issues. Why wait till
Mhm.
the shit catches on fire for us to then run and go ahead and throw water on it and try to save ourselves? We should have been finding those tools and opportunities. We should have been looking for African American, Spanish, different areas, Asian shops that were the little guy, right? Empowering them, the
Mhm.
mom and pops, like you just said. We made these people who we are. The Walmart people,
Mhm.
the Elon Musk, all these people didn't just wake up and become billionaires. They didn't wake up and yes, oh yes, look at me now. They made a little money in their pocket, but we kept feeding and
Right.
feeding and feeding. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna go to some of the comments, but this one here in particular.
So Don Juan said the problem is that places like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are too pricey for the community to afford. Notice I didn't ask for Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. What I said was the same black celebrities that could figure out how to sell us a $60 bottle of liquor could figure out how to sell us a
Well,
$5 head
well,
of.
what I was going to say, well, what I was going to say is here we have an administration, because everything's going to go back to the administration. The administration basically said, "Hey CDC, hey World Health Organization, y'all not talking over here. We're not going to be releasing information to say what's on recall, what's on not." So now you the consumer have to go out and say, wait a second, did you know that there is a massive recall on different chicken brands because of this bird flu? Did you know that this and this and this is going on? With that being said, what are the alternatives? Are we growing fresh produce in our backyard or in our home? Are we doing certain things? Tax time is about to come around. Different things are happening. Where are we in the community with bargaining and doing these things so we can self-serve our own? Because at the end of the day, he's shutting everything down. I don't know the name, and I do apologize for me not remembering people's names, but one of the people in the administration he just hired for the broadcasting and television, he's making it so that television is state owned by the government. So not, excuse me, by the governor. So if I'm watching news here in Florida, I'm not going to see what's happening, the news in California. The people in California will not be seeing what's happening in the news in Connecticut.
Not that it's state owned, but that everything in the perfect world, everything that we see would be sanctioned
Yes,
by the
that's
state.
thank you for the
Like it
articulate.
is,
Thank you for the
right.
articulation. But with that being said, that limits us. So it's not, yes, there are some foods because, and not even that, Whole Foods, if you do shop there, I shop there sometimes, they do have some things that are reasonably priced. My whole
Hmm.
ideology is just to say, why are we waiting now? Why, oh my God, I can't afford, what is going on here? We should have knew these things would come. It's like I told everybody, I was like, this man gets in office, he is about his money and he's going to rob America blind. We are in for something. But we can go back to all the comments that I totally skipped. Go ahead.
Right. So Earl said boycotting for white women is
That
basically,
point.
yeah. Hmm. It says he said there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. With that being said, as Liz said, we have to start somewhere.
You know what? You know what?
So,
And if this scenario that we are experiencing at
mhm,
this very point triggers wokeism into everybody, say, yo, this is crazy, and we start officially, and I'm using wokeism in the way they use it. But if it
uh-huh.
triggers something where we're like, yo, we gotta do something, and we start changing things and moving forward, then yes, I am happy about that. I'm just frustrated because we could have came so much further if we acted sooner. That's what I.
So, question for you, and I'll give you a minute to think about it because we have to get through some other comments.
Uh-oh.
But what do you think is a small change that we can individually make? That, like, you could say, I, Kia, as of tomorrow, am going to make a concerted effort to blank, or I'm going to start doing this, or stop doing this. Where are you going to start? And audience, I'm putting it out there
Well,
to you too. We keep complaining.
well,
What are we doing? So, what are we going to start doing as of
Well, I'm going to say this,
immediately?
and as soon as I say this, because I always have an answer, I will go to the comments. I had somebody very close to me. They were eating their breakfast, and we were all having some type of breakfast brunch. And we were just talking about politics and Black America and blah, 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 and they were just going on and on. And we all were going on and on. But this individual literally was like cutting their pancake, and it said, you know what? All we do is boom, boom, boom. I'm so tired of people talking. What are you actually doing yourself to impact the community? And I said, ooh, I've been waiting for somebody to ask me. Because for me,
Hmm.
in my background, I have worked in
Hmm.
many, many fields where I'm hands on with the community. I have worked in
Hmm.
many, many fields where I'm working with the youth, where I'm vocally with the local administration trying to make change. I'm not going to go through my
Hmm.
resume in detail because we have a show to talk about, but I have actually
Right.
actively went out my way to do different things. When it comes to other
Hmm.
changes that I have decided this year,
Hmm.
something as simple as getting back into the gym and being committed to that. Now, of course, there's a whole process when you go into the gym, right? You eventually got to change how you
Okay.
eat, and you got to do this, and you got to do. But it's the simple fact that I'm going back into the gym because guess what? The healthier I am, the less my ass don't have to go into this fucking VA hospital or whatever because everything's getting shut down these days and prices are going up. So I don't want to even be dealing
Okay.
with that. So yes, we do have to take ourselves and hold ourselves 100% accountable so that we can make a difference
Hmm.
for the community. But yes, this is what I hear.
I'm going to press you just a little bit harder, and I don't know the answer, so I'm genuinely asking who owns the
Huh?
gym?
Oh,
Who
I
owns the
do, because
gym?
all
And
the equipment, excuse me, all the equipment's in my garage. We got all the elliptical, we got the rower. I have 5 different things happening in my thing. So I can't talk about nobody else. But in this, no,
no, no,
no, but
no.
in this
Like
house,
I said, I am pressing, but I want, and the only reason, I mean, you're the only person here, but if it was anybody else out there, I'm
oh,
going to challenge you at this level. When you bought the elliptical and the everything else, what companies were
you
those,
know
and how
what?
do
I
they
did,
feel
you
about
know
these things?
what? It was a birthday
So,
present.
right?
I did not right now I did not
Mhm.
question, but guess what? At the end of the day, I believe that if you really really feel that this world that we're living in, this America is just shoddy, do what Khalees did, pack your shit
Mhm.
and bounce to a whole nother country and don't worry about those policies. I stand on
I'm
that 10 toes
tempted.
down. I have
I'm
not
not
came
tempted
that
this
I,
time.
I have not came that far.
Yes.
I have my passport. My family does. So, if we had to bounce, we had to bounce, but I'm here. But what I can do, I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to do. But no, I do not spend any money at the actual gym membership because I have all that shit now. And what's your
Mhm.
excuse? You can't walk your fat ass to the garage to exercise. So let's just go ahead. Let me go.
Like I said, I wasn't. It's not at all that I'm coming
Oh
for
yeah.
you. With the name of the show is Intentional. We're
Oh
unfiltered and
girl,
intentional. And in my personal life, intentional is one of my favorite words.
it's mine
It has
too.
gotten louder and louder to me. We have to be that level. Like every single one of us, we got to be that level with it, right? I noticed that in the comments, Earl said, "I shop at an all black farm." Now
And that's intentional. You know what's so
that's
funny you said
intentional.
that,
Now
just to
that
give a
I
little
have.
insight about
Yeah.
myself. I love that world
Mm-hmm.
too. I tell everybody, every single thing I do, I have for a reason. If I say good morning to you when I wake up, I have a reason behind the fact that I say good morning to you. Every single thing I
Mm-hmm.
do is it has an intent behind it. I never do something just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah.
never, never. That's just me. Okay.
It's and
Okay.
then let's
You read
see.
that one?
We had that one. I said, I'm a contractor. Blacks don't support
Mm.
me.
Question to you, if you're still listening, is there a reason and have you heard of as to why? Are they saying, man, if I had to do a comparison between contractors, you're about 10% higher? Like, are you hearing the reason why? Just like for any business, hey, I would never buy your product because it's faulty or whatever that looks like. Have you heard of a reason why? I'm very curious.
You know what? I'm going to jump on that real quick, Earl, and only because I think his question was exactly what came to mind is, well, how are you in terms of competing with other people and so on and so forth? And I'm sure you consider that in your model. But something for us again, and right, tonight is a night about like this is a we're gonna call this a come to Jesus meeting. Let's
Whatever you
do
want to
that,
call it.
right? So you ever find somebody that sells a certain product? You have a friend that makes socks, right? And they're one person, and they sit there and they hand sew these socks, and they come to you and they're like, I got these socks that I made from hand. It took me this many hours to make. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I want to support you. How much is it? And they're like, $15. And you're like, well, what's the friends and family discount?
Well,
Really and truly, it should be a friends and family tax, right? Because if you're supporting me, why are you really checking for the
so
discount
I'll
like
say
that?
this. I'll say this. I understand why, especially in our communities and certain communities in general, we're like, oh, what's the discount? You gonna hook me up with a sister discount, a friend discount, whatever that is, for the simple fact
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of times we do not have money. Statistically speaking, African Americans are at
Mm-hmm.
the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to wealth. That is just a statistic. We could look it up, we could Google it, whatever. This is just a statistic that's true. And then it just goes up the level
Mm-hmm.
and level in reference to all that. So when you have poor people, you think poorly. You think you live paycheck to paycheck. This is the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we're in that situation. Now, yes, granted, we should support each other. We should honor and
Mm-hmm.
respect. But I will challenge somebody who does do that. If we happen to know Auntie so and so who be like, "Hey, you hook me up with a discount." I would say, well, what can you offer them? Maybe let's just say it was you and I, Liz. So, hey, Liz, I know you say you do hair, and I need this hair did real quick. Can you hook me up? I'll go ahead and watch the child. I'll go ahead and do whatever that is, so we can have
Oh, no,
a
that's
bartering
partnering, and that
system,
makes
so
sense.
it's not like I'm just kind of freeloading off of you, and we're kind of circling that money back within our community.
Oh, and here's the thing here: if everybody thought like you did, that would be a wonderful thing, right? But most people think up to what you just said, and here's the thing: is I'm kind of sick and tired of the excuses. Talking to me about poor people are looking for a discount. I get that for poor people that are actually making the sacrifices, pinching corners where they can, and so on and so forth. But don't step to me for a 20-30% discount because you're poor while I'm watching you and you got your lashes did, you got the hair did, you got the nails did. You can afford all that shit. And ask me how much, when you went to Walmart, did you negotiate with them? When you went to the Asian lady that does your nails, did you
Have
negotiate
you
with her? When you went and paid hundreds of dollars to get your hair done, were you fine with that? Why did you draw the line at, but we're friends though, so can't you take $5 off? Yo, my ass is poor by those standards too. I'm not in the top 1%. I'm out here trying to make a dollar like everybody else is, but you respect everybody else's and not your friends, right? Charity begins at home. Pay your friend the full price instead of paying the stranger that. Because here's the funny thing is, if they put an LV on those socks, you'd be willing to pay 15 times what your friend that sat there and made it for hours is charging you at $15. You paid $150 for some Louis Vuitton socks, but you won't pay your
I
friend
think that comes
15.
from I think that comes from self-love and respect. I think it literally comes from respect. If I don't value, see, we pay for what we value. So if I
Mm-hmm.
value the latest, purse and the leather materials and these goods or whatever the case may be, then yeah, I'll pay it if they told me to pay it. But if I don't see,
Yeah, but then I'm not going to excuse your way. You're poor, so you
well,
can't
I'm
pay
just
me.
talking about in reference to self respect. If you have a service that
Mm-hmm.
you're offering, and I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
ahead and supplying and saying, "Hey, here's your actual fee and stuff," I just think that has to do with a respect issue, And I think that we because we know people like that. I promise you, we do. We need to have those hard conversations. We have to have these hard
Mm-hmm.
conversations. I think that now is the perfect time with this administration to hold our brothers and sisters, our community, our friends accountable for the actions that they
Mm-hmm.
make. So that moving
Right.
forward, when it's the third year of his administration and we are over here losing hair and sweating,
So, for me, yeah, you
well,
hurt
well,
my
well,
heart.
well,
Don't
you
say
know
that.
what? Because if he's making all these moves now, and I'm going to read the moves that he's been making, if he's been making all these moves now and he's only going on 12 days, like Earl mentioned, can you honestly imagine what's going to happen the 32 day, the 300 day, or whatever that looks like? Let's prepare now. Who are going to be the leaders, the government, the administration that we're like, hey, we can't have the same mindsets in all over again, like, hey, well, you seen what we just went through again with the Trump administration. So we got to put any Democrat in. No, this is the time to start picking now and say, we got to do this. We got to speak up for this with this. We got to change this. We got to bring this back. So this is the time now.
Mm-hmm. So Z said at Kia, I believe Steve Bannon called that
He sure
flooding the field.
did. He's so much information, you
Yes.
won't be able to tackle any of it all at once.
Mm-hmm. And so Centaurus said, so why be reactive and instead let's practice some proactive habits? I can understand that,
Definitely.
right? Z
Yay.
was telling Earl
That,
respect on that black farmer
mhm.
and being the
And
contact
if
that,
you
hey, you just keep doing your work, money
If
will
you
come.
can, in reference to the Black Farm, I know that you're in Georgia, but we do have different listeners that are in Georgia. If you could put that information out there so we can spread that resource, so we could promote that farmer as well, that would be great. Because even when I go up to Georgia and drive up there, I would love to. Maybe he ships. Who knows? I would love to see what he's offering.
So Alice said an all black farmers market is not a bad idea. Tis not.
And you know
Would be
what I've
wonderful.
noticed, and it's interesting because I do know, based on white supremacy, the bigger you are, the more eyes they have on you. But within your
Mm.
community, if you guys can localize and do different things, when I tell you he's shutting all types of
Mm-hmm.
stuff down, there is no talking about race, there's no pride parade, there's no Juneteenth this. And I'm not saying that I wanted the extra holiday. Yes, I like my day off, but whatever. I'd rather have other type of benefits, but they are shutting everything freaking down. You, the
Right.
parent, you, the consumer, are going to have to say, you know what? Where's those farmers again? And let's go ahead. How about we, the audience, myself, you, Liz, everybody that we know, actively, committedly right now say, hey, let's start looking at where we can
Mm-hmm.
start within our own community and doing more and more things. Because
And also, even the black farmers thing, right? And I mean, obviously, we can't all go out and get a cow, you know what I mean, for fresh meat and fresh milk and so on, right? But there are small things that we can do that not only is it good for your health, right? It's good for your pocket. It's good for if you have children, it's good for your children. If you don't have children, it's good for yourself, right? I know that I happen to be, I don't know if you guys ever pay attention, almost every single grocery store, they sell little small potted plants. You guys ever seen them? Like little peppermint, you got basil, you got thyme, like rosemary, those small things, right? And I went out and I grabbed, I kid you not, just I wanted mojitos. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was making mojitos. It was that company, whatever. And there's nothing like some freshly mint leaves for your mojito. So I grabbed it for that. And I came home and I made my mojitos. And for whatever reason, decided I would just toss the rest of what was left of the mint into the side of my house in the grass, in the dirt, in the dirt, right? And when I tell you those mints took off, no care. I didn't have to go water them. I didn't have to go out there and trim them. I wasn't weeding anything. I turned around. I had a mint bush just like that, right? Took my daughter to the store and got her own little mint plant. She stuck it in the ground. Watching that thing flourish. And again, this doesn't take any extra time. I understand we don't have time. I know we're busy. This took nothing. I literally stuck it in the ground and
Well, I
walked
was
away.
going to say a lot of people within our community and just in general, the statistics show that when during COVID, a lot of people picked up gardening, just because they can't get out as much. You can't trust, you don't want to be around
Mhm.
people, this and things. So they started getting to horticulture and different things like that. I mean, definitely this is the time to go ahead and come up with ideas like that. I want to
We're
go
thinking
ahead.
about it.
I'm sorry to cut you off real quick. I want to go ahead and even put that out there. So his administration said there isn't going to be this Black History Month celebration, and a lot of other schools and companies are taking that in. So since you're busy and
Mhm.
since things are happening, you don't have time to talk about it. I've made a vow for myself that I'm going to, every time me and my daughter pick up a book to read, it's not going to be about the Pokemon or whatever. It's going to be about African American stories. We were just reading about Ruby Bridges and
Mhm.
segregated schools, and I'm teaching my 8-year-old about how schools were segregated and this is what it's supposed to be. But and doing these things now, I know they're trying to ban books even at the library level. I know they're trying to get rid of
Mhm.
PBS and NPR. That's a whole different conversation, but we collectively, with this show, other shows that are out there, we have to be the ones who are pulling together, because his administration, and you know what I always say, I say F Trump. It's Elon that I'm fucking worried about. I don't know if y'all been watching him, and we're gonna get to that real quick, but go ahead.
Right. Well, and because I don't want to lose the thought, right? It affects my mint leaves here. So my daughter watching those mint leaves go made her feel a sense of accomplishment, right? It saved me a buck because now every time I want to make mojitos or mint infused lemonade or anything like that, I'm not running to the store to buy mint leaves. So far, I've saved money. Right, I've made my daughter feel like she's doing something. When we do go out there and grab a couple mint leaves together, that's a mommy daughter moment, right? I'm not trying to go into farming and horticulture. I don't have that kind of time. But that takes nothing off of me. And you know what? My backyard is a lot closer than the grocery store is when I want to go outside and pick a leaf. Right. So I've saved myself time. I've saved myself energy. I've saved myself gas. Right. And we're just talking about mint leaves. I've also got lemongrass. Literally same story. Right. Picked it up at the grocery store one day. Wasn't feeling well. Figured I'd make a tea. Stuck it in the grass. I swear that thing is about 10 feet tall right now. If anything, it's driving my husband crazy because it's in the second floor window. Right. But these are simple things that don't take away any time, that have so many benefits to your life. For people that live in the city, maybe not so easy. But for the rest of us that have so much as a front porch, stick something in the ground in front of your house and pick
Well,
it and
now
eat it.
they have hydro. It's called hydro. The hydro vegetation thing. It's a machine. I mean, I wish I could have a picture, but it's a thing you could roll in and roll out. I have one, and
Yeah, no, there's a lot of urban
yeah,
gardening
even if
tips
you have an
and different things
apartment.
that you
But at the end of the day, just to add to that, like I said, and I've been seeing them because I've been looking for, because what we use social media, what the kids use social media. There have been groups now on social media where they're talking Black history to kids. That's awesome. That is so
can.
awesome, because when you have an administration who's like, you know what, we're shutting this down. You shouldn't be dependent on me any. You know what? That's facts. We shouldn't be dependent on you anyway to teach our children about our culture, about diversity and all these things and love. You know what? Let us do it. We got it from here.
All right. So Don Juan said, I feel like when it comes to DEI, there are three sides to the story. Those for it and for their reasons, those against it and for their reasons, and those that just don't care about it. Yeah.
The ones that don't care about it, I have to say they just piss me off. Because you know what? If you don't care, what do you really care for? What are we doing?
But you know what? Sometimes people just don't know why they should care.
I don't want to hear that.
I know, but whether we want to hear it or not, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying that, tell me why I should care about that. Right? And
No,
and
I've met people. I've met people. I'm dead ass. I've met people here in New York coming out of me. I met people where, let's just say you're walking down the street, you got some packages in your hand, you slip and fall. And the normal
Mm-hmm.
thing I would assume is to walk over to you, hey, ma'am, are you okay? Can I help you with your package? And get you some assistance. I met people like, I ain't stopping for that person. And I'm like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
in the scenario, you have time on your hands. You're not rushing to get to work. Would you help? No, I wouldn't help them. Like, huh? So no, all jokes aside, I have met people who just do not give a fuck. On social media, her name is Melody Mood or something to that effect. And of course, people are trying
Okay.
to cancel her because she got on there. She says, I do not care that you are separated from your children. I do not care that you have no job. I do not care if you haven't eaten. If your child is hungry, tell them to go pick in the field somewhere. I do not care. You are
Mm-hmm.
beneath me. So yeah, I was just in awe. I feel like now this administration here, once again, they're emboldened just to come and show you who they are, which I'd rather you tell me who you are instead of fronting and faking.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and to that, you guys know the first they came. You guys are familiar with that, right? I believe. Let's see, it was Martin Niemöller, I want to say. And it's first they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out because I'm not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I'm not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I don't have to say anything else about that. I'm gonna just let that simmer. All right. And so Earl was responding to when I was asking, when we were asking, why it is that people would not go with him and go with a competitor. So they don't do the work by himself. Well, ask them when they ever stepped into Walmart and got checked out by Sam Walton. He don't do the work himself either,
Ah,
but they shop there all
no.
the time. Right? He said my price is the same for all people with it's the cost plus a 25% markup, which is how you pay yourself, right? So for sure. Let's see. And Earl said, Kia, people buy what they want and beg for what they need. Right. So you have a hole in your roof. You have your hole in your roof looking at the sky, but you looking through those real pretty lashes, like, oh, my roof is leaking. This shit's crazy. These people are nuts, right? And so I think that's what we were talking about. That whole, get your priorities in order. I think that's really what it boils down to, right? And so Earl said, I give single moms a discount. It's my choice and my heart.
That's great.
So, all right. And so Don Juan said, Alistair, I hope that there is enough farmers for that. I do see Black farmers in Brooklyn working the market on the weekends.
Um, it's interesting. I seen a guy on TikTok and he was walking around. He owned property in Alabama. And this is the city
Mm-hmm.
part of Alabama. And he was trying to open up a all black, hotel. And he said
Mm-hmm.
that they tried to burn his hotel down and they were not successful. The certain parts were burnt. And then he's like, the wiring, they came in days later and they cut the wiring. Like every step he takes, they try to, take him down. I do understand
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard when you're working against the system. But at the end of the day, these people are telling you, they're telling you, they've told you years after years, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do. It was us who
Right.
didn't listen. It was us who like, oh yeah, Trump is just Josh. And that crazy Trump, he just be talking. You can't pay that man no
Right.
mind. He told you.
Right.
He's worse. I think
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about Trump 2.0. He's worse what he is now than what he was 4 years ago. Maybe that's because he's in his
Mm-hmm.
last term. Maybe because he has all the things that he needs to run strategically his fascist ideology. But it's going to get worse than what we're already experiencing. So
So
what'd you
much,
say? Oh
so
yeah.
much worse. It's going to get so much worse. Right? So Earl gave us the name of that Black Farmers Market. It's the Atlanta Harvest. It's an awesome Black-owned family farm. I drive 45 minutes one way and take orders from my family and friends. And my friends pick up food for my family. So that's
Thank you so
amazing, Earl.
much.
I
Because
absolutely
I'm
love
assuming
that.
that they have a website, and the more we can get that business, I'm actually going to go out and reach to them, and see how we can connect. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, connection. Unfortunately, we don't advertise the way that we should. That could be because of the lack of
Hmm.
marketing. Could be a million reasons why. But at the end of the day, the more we know that these businesses are out here, we can then connect to empower those people and get those dollars circulating within our community. Because if you did not know, even though a lot of people loved Target at one point, their stocks have went all the way down. a lot of things are
Mm-hmm.
happening where Target just came out and said they're going to have to close some stores. So we do know that when the black dollar stops, that's when people pay
Um,
attention.
well, Target suffers blows from both sides, and again, I'm not here to defend Target. That's not even my store. I step and foot in Target maybe twice a year, if that, right? So
I'm just
not my
saying.
store, right? But here's the thing: Target started losing money because they started putting out they're extremely pro the alphabet soup
Not
community,
anymore.
and well they
They have.
have been, and they've got a lot
That
of
is
money
true.
for it now. And this is not what the show's about tonight, but can I just put out there that Target is somewhat fucking ridiculous? When they had the trans swimsuits for toddlers, I was like, that even lost me, right? So you had they had like size six, like six for a little boy is like a 5 to 7 year old would wear a size six, right? It was underwear where you could tuck your junk for a 5 to 7 year old. Like, why are we even thinking about a five to
Well, and
seven year
that's
old's
well,
junk?
and going and bringing that within a political stance. That's where I think the Democrats kind of always go sideways with it. Like,
Too
so
much.
even though
Too
I
much.
know people who are part of that community, the trans community, the LGBT community, whatever. But let's talk the trans community for 1 second. They represent 1% of the
Mhm.
population. So
If that.
when you say, hey, we have these issues, we have these things for you guys, whatever, whatever, the masses of America don't want to hear that. We want to know about why the fuck the price of eggs $1,000. We don't want to know about
Mhm.
those. So I do understand uh in reference to the Democrats, like out of all the topics to be talking about, which everyone needs representation. I'm never gonna knock that. Can we still talk about
Mhm.
the prices, the tea, please?
Every single body need representation, and I know how counterintuitive that might sound, right? But there are, first of all, we're all individuals, and there are certain things that are so very niche about you, so very niche about me. There is unrealistic for me to expect
But then we
any
get
single
back into
body
the
to
whole
accomplish the thought that I have in my
but
mind.
then we get back into the topic of the conversation about DEI must die, because when you have so we take that little population, like you said, that little niche, and they were like, see, this is what we're talking about, the diversity. You want the guy was like, what you want, a dwarf uh at the controls trying to fly a plane? Like, what dwarf is flying a plane? Like, what? Like, even though there may be some little short person out there, like no one's talking about this shit. So stop taking this one little sector and making this whole thing. When they talk about
Hoopla
diversity, they're
out
talking
of
about
it.
everything. Everybody wants to feel
Right.
included. But when we're saying that, no one's caring. Like, everything has its place.
You can be inclusive to the point of exclusion
So
sometimes, right? Because if you can't be so inclusive and so taking into consideration the 1% that you take out of consideration the 60% that feel some other way about that, which is a little bit of part of why we have such this rise in this sense of disenfranchisement that your traditional white person is experiencing. Like, you know what I mean? And when I say, I mean, I wouldn't go with a traditional white person, but you get what I'm saying. A racist white person, let's call it that, right? But the reason that they feel that way is because if they think something is not quite right or they think something is wrong, even though it's a majority of them, we'll sell them down the river for the 1% or less that are that niche, right? So so with the midget in the control, heaven forbid, or whatever the case is, people be like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get on a plane with the midget, right? If you had 20% of the population that felt that way, and you had 1 in 3 billion people that wanted to fly planes. I'm not telling you that the midget can't fly the plane, but at least take the time to explain to that 20% that feels that way, maybe why we shouldn't just hate somebody for
I
something that
think
they
I
can't
think
control.
the issue is that we allowed the other side to dictate our verbiage. The word woke came from somebody who
Mm-hmm,
was educated, not necessarily
mm-hmm,
academically. It could be from their own studies, doing their own research, but somebody who was aware of the bullshit. That is the definition
mm-hmm,
of being woke, meaning like you're not going to just piss on me and tell me it's rain. I
mm-hmm,
know what's going
mm-hmm.
on. I know that the foods I'm eating are not, beneficial. I know the music is trash.
Right.
I know this. I know if you want to hide something from black people, put it in the book. Guess what? I read books. That's the definition of woke. and they've taken this term and threw it out. And now it's like a catchphrase, and like even DEI, critical race theory. You ask these people now, what is critical race theory? You know, when they be talking about the races and stuff. What the hell? What in the world
Yes,
is going on?
where they just like to just feel that. We can't have that. We can't teach actual history because you might not feel
Well,
good about your
and the
history
crazy
if you
thing
have to
about it, you
learn.
had Elon Musk. If you guys do not watch the
Mhm,
news, he attended an AFD rally. AFD are in Germany, and they are a
mhm,
Nazi-based type of organization. Not
mhm.
necessarily praising Hitler, but a lot of his ideologies pro Germany, pro this, pro white America, pro. And Elon
Mhm.
gets on there. He's like, no, do not be ashamed of what your grandfather or your great grandfather did. Do 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 do
Mhm.
do 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 do. And of course, as we know,
Mhm.
he's done the Nazi salute. A lot of people are trying to defy and deny that.
It was a
And
mistake
I'm like, well,
twice.
how come you're not doing it at work if that's what it is? That's a whole nother
Right.
conversation. But you have to listen to these people.
Mhm.
He's the one I think he's the antichrist to go off topic. Not to go off topic. He's
Elon,
crazy. Okay, I'm gonna go into a
you
rabbit
think
hole right
Elon?
there. Let me just focus. Okay.
I don't
I'm
know. I
about to
don't
go in a
know.
rabbit
So
hole.
Z said this is going to be contrarian. What we have been talking about so far is building our community. Every time we build any community, they, white people, have come and burn it down. Think
Well,
Black
that's
Wall
why
Street. Okay.
that's
No,
why
go
I
ahead, Key.
said that you can't be too big with it. You cannot be too big with the community, build it up, lessen power, oh my God, whatever the case may be. Because then they come along and you have this big old farm and this big neighborhood, and 3 miles down is the nuclear power plant with the whatever, and all the fumes is blowing right into the vegetables, and it's a cancer, cluster of people, whatever the case may be. They do it all the time. They stop.
Or we can go the opposite way and learn from what they're actually doing, right? Because what are they doing? What do we call it? Flooding the field? Was that it? Maybe we should flood the field. Maybe if it was everywhere, and we have to be strategic too, right? If we were going to start building black farms and making these little urban communities, what you want to do is nestle it between two white houses. Because set that bitch on fire and watch your house burn too.
Well, and
You
that
know what I mean? And we need to do that like
I love that,
overwhelmingly
but
everywhere
I
all
love
at
that
once.
that idea. They want to stop Section 8. Hey guys, I don't know if you've been listening. They want to get rid. They're putting a
That's
proposal
federal
together to get rid of Section 8. That is another topic we have to talk about, is the housing crisis, which Kushner has his hands
money.
all in. And
Hmm.
if they stop Section 8, do you know how many homeless? I mean, we already have a homeless population now, but on top of that.
Hmm.
So I think that since we
Hmm.
kind of already know, and this is a good segue, just to kind of get you
Hmm.
guys kind of prepared on what's going on. So I know Earl had mentioned, he had mentioned that it's 12 days so far since he's been causing a ruckus. So
Hmm.
the proof is in the pudding. Please, 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 everybody listening now, later, whatever the case may be, this man is not playing any games. He is serious. Take his words
Hmm.
seriously. My Dr. Maya Angelou, bless her heart, said a person's going to tell you who they are.
And
I'm
sure
going to tell you, if
are.
I am a selfish ass, I promise you, I'm going to tell you within our conversation that I'm a selfish. Treat that as real. So he said that he is not promoting Project 2025. Everything in his
No,
legislation so far has been from Project
line
2025.
by line.
As of now,
100%. Yep.
he has
Hmm.
raised the prescription drug prices, he ends civil rights and DEI protections in the government, ending climate
Hmm.
protections, increase Arctic drilling, deregulate big business and oil industry, promote and expedite capital punishment, mass deportation of immigration and incarceration in camps as well. He's also rounding up Americans as well. Some of these Americans, you got
Hmm.
papers, that sounds very Germany over there. Ending
Hmm.
birthright citizenship, bans Muslims from entering the country, eliminates federal agencies like the FDA, EPA, NOAA. Some things that he
Hmm.
has not touched as of yet, but he's starting to. Of course, we know the
Yep.
VA and no fault divorce, complete ban on abortions without exceptions, ban contraceptives, additional tax breaks for corporations and 1%.
Time out. Don't gloss over that. Hold on. The three that you said right before the tax breaks, just those three. Can you repeat
And
that?
no fault divorce, complete ban on
Mm-hmm.
abortions without exceptions, and ban contraceptives.
Uh-huh. You know who those three things affect? Women. It literally relegates you to being a second
Yes,
class citizen. When they do that, when they start going for your contraception and your divorce rights and your everything else, and also if you're paying attention to what they're saying, right? Women also shouldn't be in combat. We also shouldn't be in leadership roles. We also should what we should be is subservient to the men making the decisions in our lives. That is honest to
yes,
God what this says, right? I know we get real caught up on sometimes on like the race issues and the everything else. This is
yes.
so much bigger than that. Any idea what it looks like? And I am talking to the men too. When you disenfranchise the women in your life, you have any idea the hell that you then wreak in today's society?
No,
Like there is major issues with that. If you can't have a no fault divorce, your husband can beat the
yes,
shit out of you,
yes.
and I
And you
dare you
know
to
what
prove it. They will
JD
kick
Vance
you out.
said? You know what JD Vance said? That's something that you're
Mhm.
gonna have to deal with. I said, what the fuck? What in the
Right?
goddamn?
They will. If a woman leaves her husband, the way that we're going, if a woman leaves their husband, they will literally put out an APB for you, like they do a teenager. If your 12-year-old runs away from home, you send the police pick them up and bring them back. If you're a wife and you run away from home, they will pick you up and they will bring your ass back because you are property. That's what we're
Like
going back
Handmaid's
to.
Tale.
Like sleep if you want to, but I'm choosing woke. Right? That's what it is. But I'm sorry, I interrupted your
Well,
list. Keep going.
like I said, the additional tax breaks for corporations, 1%, higher taxes for the working class, elimination of unions and worker protections. So you know what? Hey, I'm going on strike. No, you're not. Sit your ass down. Raise the retirement age. Why were you raising it to 75? What in the hell?
75. Go to work with a cane.
Reviewing, he says reviewing Project 2025 says cut Social Security, cut Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act, eliminate the Department
Mm-hmm.
of Education. This one always throws me into a nutshell because a lot of people think about, hey, what's going on with the school? What about special ed needed children? That's gone. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
parents that I know are wondering, oh my God, that's really panicky. Um, Use public
Mm.
taxpayer money for private religious schools, teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools, and free and discounted school lunch programs. I did not understand that at all. Ban African
You didn't
American and
understand?
gender studies in all levels of education. He's already done that. I'm sorry I didn't read that. Ban books and curriculum about slavery. End marriage
Mm-hmm.
equality. Condemn single mothers while promoting only traditional families. Defund the FBI and Homeland Security. Use the military to break up domestic protests.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
don't want to
last time
flood
that
you
we
guys
taught
with too much information.
yeah, listen. Last time we taught exclusively so-called Christian beliefs, and only certain people could teach, and only certain people could have access to certain things, and so on and so forth. We had slavery.
Let's hit these comments.
Like, right? And so Allison said, sounds like our first lady and the I don't care jacket. He was relating to, and he said, that has got nothing to do with me. So I don't care. She said, what did she say? I really don't care, do you? That was it.
Yep, 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 yep.
So
Sorry.
we got somebody new in our comment section tonight. Here, I think this is the second person. We had a Cortina that made comments earlier on. She greeted us, and now we've got Chaos. So welcome to the community. Welcome to the family, Chaos. So let's see. They commented that on a practical sense, that's unpleasant. The pre-trans women I've known in my life tend to complain about how painful tucking is.
At the end of the
Right.
day, in reference to the trans community, like I said, everybody
Mm-hmm.
has their own specific issue. The African American woman, the Latino woman, the Asian woman, the this and this, everybody has their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunately because it not being accepted the way other things are accepted. The Democrats kept
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, this is what we want to, and people were like, wait a second, I need my gas prices to go down. And then they just took this and said, this is what this whole liberal thing is all about. They just want to change everything, knowing. So I
Right.
think they ended up uh, being smarter than us. And that's how they won the election.
You know what? No, they were not fucking smarter than us. I reject that. Yeah, let me get my
Oh,
tennis
I'm ready. This
racket.
is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. They smarter than us, but go ahead and you go.
No, they were not smarter than us, right? What they were good at is fucking confusing shit,
Mm.
right? So, for example, I personally think that we've kind of been asleep at the wheel, and I do think that a lot of these trans issues and the other like extreme left side of things got caught up in the mud. But I also think that a lot of these fucking college students that think they know everything about everything with their little Gaza protests and they're pro-Palestinian, they're pro the terrorists and this, that, and the third, and that Biden wasn't friendly enough to, the brown people in that conflict. And I'm not disputing that. But if you thought for one fucking second that Donald Trump was a better choice, Mr. Muslim ban himself, so you sat out the election, or you decided that you're going to vote for him because he wasn't Biden, Trump himself recently thought it would be a good idea to clean out Gaza. Clean it out. So if you didn't vote based on that, if you thought Biden was so fucking bad on that, you think the Democrats aren't friendly enough, and therefore you decided to sit it out? That's how narrow this election was. That shit would have swung in the other direction. And it was a lot of those young people that don't know shit about shit or understand nuance about anything that fucked us over. But I think more than enough of us are not stupid. They didn't play us because we're stupid. They played the people that could be played, and that's how we got to the situation now. But that's okay.
So
They're going to learn. We
my
all learn
opposing
together.
piece, if I step up to the mic in a debate class,
Do your thing. Get my tennis racket. Let me
my
get
opposing piece will
go
say
ahead.
this: at the end of the day, like I said in the last podcast, I do believe if Kamala won, it would just been a boiling pot with the lid on it, just trying to boil over. Because at the end of the day, there's a group of people in Middle America who's like, I do not like what's going on for all types of reasons, right? And I talked about in the beginning. I feel that their numbers are declining. I do not feel secure white America, and they're in an uproar. And that is the crux of all this. White supremacy is dying out. You are trying to get rid of it. You're trying to make everything kumbaya and this and this. No, everything has a place. Women, stay in your place. I don't want to hear that you have feelings and we care about you and you want equal rights and equal pay.
Mexicans
So
are
with
working
that
black
being
jobs.
said, if we, the people, knew that we were getting played and we truly, truly believed that we were getting played, we would not take our election like it was checkers and we'd be playing strategically like it's chess. White people plan out 50 years in advance. While we're sitting here, I can't believe there's a ban on the education bill. Oh my God. They're already talking about other things moving along. If we started in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, we would not be here in this podcast talking about, I cannot believe this is going, this Trump. How did the Democrats allow this felon to start
Nope.
to start the legal process at the last couple of months right before the election is about to begin and wrap up? What in the world?
Nope. Nope. All right, hold on. Tennis racket coming.
Okay,
Back at you.
all
Nope.
right, all right.
Because here's the nugget in what I just said, right? Who did I say help push this shit over the edge? The fucking college student. News for the rest of us out there. What demographic makes up the majority of the college students that were building little in camps in front of Columbia University and wherever else they were? You know what? Them motherfuckers are stupid young white kids, mostly. There were a couple Palestinians out there, and
Are you
Palestinians
telling
fighting
me that she would
Palestinians.
have
And
won if those people voted?
if only because first of all, and we did this on this show, black people did what they were supposed to do, and they did vote for Kamala mostly overwhelmingly. She lost a couple votes, but not enough to swing it. She lost more liberal young white votes between the ages of 80 and 28 than she ever should have. And most of those liberal college educated or college students that we're talking about are mostly white. So miss me. I'm tired of everybody talking about how black people didn't believe, black people didn't go to the polls, black people voted more this time than they have
So,
in most
so let
elections, right? They voted the right way. They did the right thing. And I refuse to accept any blame on behalf of my entire community.
so the only issue that I have with everything that you just said is that if we were playing smart, why are we only left every fucking election with two motherfucking idiots? Because at the end of the day, you cannot sit here and say that by the Biden administration is just, oh my God, he's a savior. He's oh my God. No, he was wrong for the country in his own way, not like Trump, not like JD Vance, but in his own way. Why are we only left with these two fucking people? Why we are not doing what we need to do so we have so many other options? Nancy Pelosi will deliberately, when she was in power, deliberately sabotage anybody else who had any other opinion and to say anything extra differently. Like, hey, I think that there should be some free child care and some other stuff. Bernie Sanders. You know what they told when he went on the radio station? Don't ask him any questions. What the fuck is this? We can't ask him.
Yeah.
Why are we
He
stuck? No,
Green,
but tell me why. No, no, no. So if I hear you correctly, you're saying that it's a good
yes.
thing that we only had Kamala and Trump to choose from?
No, no, no. That's not what I
I'm
said. That's not what I'm
asking.
saying. Here's the thing. You just said, right, in order to win the game, you have to plan 50 years in
Yes,
advance, right? So what we need to do is start planning for 20, 30,
yes.
50 years in advance. And that's how we'll get to 5 candidates and 10 major candidates and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, today, when it's time to vote, don't cut up your nose to spite your
Oh my
fucking face.
God.
The fuck,
That's
right
why we,
now,
but
we
you
have
know
two
what? I
choices.
promise you,
And
mark
that's
my
what
words, audience. Mark my words, audience. If we do not change our strategy now, 3 years from now, when we're like, oh, what we're going to do, we're going to be in the same motherfucking boat again. That's
You're not gonna not eat dinner tonight because you're waiting for your cow to get big enough to slaughter it. That's gonna take some years. Like your cow has to be basically old and past reproduction before you want to chop it down. In the meantime, you have to eat tonight. And in terms of Kamala being the pot that's boiling, I'd rather have a pot that's boiling that I can make some tea with,
I'm
or throw
not
something in it to make
disputing
it
that.
boil or whatever, than not to have a
I'm
pot
not
at
going to
all.
dispute that Kamala and the Democratic Party is not better per se than Trump, because when it comes to social and different things or whatever, he's crazy. I'm not disputing that. I am trying to say
Mm-hmm.
though, why do we always just put it where now we're forced to just pick between these two? If we played our cards right 10 years ago, these other years ago, and start putting priority.
We can't go back. We can start playing our cards right
Well, yeah,
today. We
yeah,
can't be mad at what our parents
yeah.
did. We can't feel some kind of way about it. But feeling some kind of way about it ain't fixing shit today. Today, the job, we had one job. Today, the job was to get to tomorrow. We failed on that in November. We can't talk about that anymore because I guess that's yesteryear too. But let me tell you something. In the election that's coming up, this coming year, because this year we're going to have elections too, and you better know who and what's on the ballot. It might not be the president, but it don't have to be the president. Start voting now and start voting smart. And you know what you can do is start voting your own local people. You can run yourself. There's somebody in this comment section. There's somebody on this screen right now that should be running for something. Run for dog catcher
That
if
is
you
true.
have
I
to.
totally
Get your
agree with
name
that.
on the ballot and start talking to some people and do something rather than sitting around complaining about how we only have 2 candidates. Then why aren't you one of them?
I
Right?
totally
And
agree with
I'm
that.
thinking to
I totally
myself,
agree with that.
you know what I mean? So we got some big problems.
No,
So
read
I
the comment.
just said it is after 10. Oh my gosh, I don't even know when that happened. Alistair said that's where DEI things lost folks. That ad about prisoners getting government paid for sex changes and surgeries was an issue. The liberals went too far. Finding the right bathroom shouldn't be that complicated. It was never that complicated. It never was. No one was ever going to police the bathrooms. Nobody ever was. No one's going to come knock on the say, excuse me, the stall door, and say, excuse me, I need to see your penis. It's never going to happen. When they started being all ridiculous about it, we should have let them be ridiculous about it because no one has ever stopped me or anybody that I've ever seen on the way to the bathroom. That's crazy. He said DEI is the new N word. It's the new F word. It's the new a lot of things. So woke is too because we let them have it. I'm sick of it. Right? And so Alice said, we all saw the salute. Aw, don't mess up the emoji. Don't
Ah,
do that. Don't give them the emoji. I like the emoji. So, surprisingly, no pushback on that. But blacks taking the knee was too
that's
much.
straight
Oh,
fact.
the salute, yes. The knee, no. And so Earl said Mount Musk is South
Yes.
African. I don't know about y'all, but South Africa is not one of the 50
And
states.
and just an FYI, if you
We
did
are
not know, he does have the keys, aka the passwords to America's bank account. I don't know if you've been watching the news. He has the
okay.
keys to the America's bank account.
And while we're talking about DEI being such a problem, why the man they put in charge of the IRS, the man they put in charge of the IRS has no college degree. He has no accounting experience. He has no anything. He's literally a fast talking auctioneer. That's who we're going to have running the IRS. But he would be significantly better than any person whatsoever that doesn't look like him, because DEI is bad, right? So Earl said we need the Black Panthers back when you built
Well, you know
community
what's
to have security.
interesting? There is a group called the YN Black Panthers, and you're starting to hear more about it. If you go on social media, you can check them out. They're trying to gain momentum. At the end of the day, when they started bringing them back, one of the leaders ended up, I guess, I don't know what the charge was. I know it had something to do with weapons or something to that effect. I don't know the
Mhm.
specifics, but he's doing time. So of course, if you are anybody in the audience, anybody listening in the future, if you are saying, you know what, we need to take a stance, make sure that you have a squeaky clean background, because just like they released all that information on Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, they get into your business. They end up
Mhm.
following you, plotting. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you something real quick. So I know a lot of people have asked me in the past, like, man, I wish the show would be consistent. Like when we first started off, we were very consistent, and it's kind of stopped and it slowed down, and we got life and kids and all types of stuff. But a lot of times people say, man, can you be persistent? We love to have this forum. We could talk on it. We have this open conversation. One thing happened that I was like, you know what? This shit is wild. So so the more you become more vocal, the more followers you have, the more topics you talk about, you get different people commenting. So right now, when we have these comments here, we can kind of filter through the comments. So let's just say we're trying to get through comments, but somebody say, hey, good evening, friends. We don't have to per se that, but we say, hey, love everybody. But sometimes we get personal DMs. I know I have read several personal DMs where people are like, I'm watching you. What the fuck? I'm like, who's watching me? I'm looking in the camera. What the fuck? Yeah. And not to say this, the
Mhm.
people in the 60s, they were fucking solid, because they didn't care if they had children. They didn't care what. The children gonna be up in arms too. They rode. They were for the
Mhm.
people, by the people. I remember Edgar Cleaver, the Black Panthers. What's the movie that just came out? Well, it didn't come out. It came out a couple of years ago, but he was talking about I'm for the people. Um, is it Bobby Seale that was saying? I forget the name, but and like I said, I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with names. But with that being said, he kept talking about it's not about you, it's not me, I'm for the people. And I promise you I'm for the people. If I had to give up all this shit to support the people, I would. What slows
Mhm.
me down is the fact that I do have my child. That is what my weakness is, because I don't want nothing to happen to my kid. Because a lot of the people who are out there with their voice being boisterous, they are constantly getting death threats. They're constantly getting. I remember my husband. My husband's a very educated man, and he one time got on social media and he was just talking about the economy and black people when it
Mhm.
comes to money. I remember going in his
Mhm.
DMs and I was reading and they were saying some racist stuff. And this is not people that followed him. These are just people who there are people planted in your
Commenting. Yeah.
your information in your box looking like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Oh yeah. So yes, it is
Mhm.
definitely hard, but I support and I will give high five for anybody who says, you know what?
But here's the thing, Kia, and as a mother, I understand completely what you're saying, right? But it's so interesting because their fear motivates them. Our fear silences us, right? And there's got to be something to that. I mean, not for nothing. We just had Martin Luther King Day. Was that a week, 2 weeks ago, a week
12 days,
ago,
12
2
days
weeks
ago.
ago, 12
12
days
days ago.
ago, right, 12 days ago. And when you think about the death threats that Coretta Scott King and her husband were going through, they were parents too, and they kept
Oh,
the
they
fight.
stood on it. They
They
stood
did.
on it. Yes,
They
yes,
kept the fight.
yes.
Right? Malcolm X got the threats and so on and so forth, but he believed in the cause and he stuck to it, and it did in fact cost both of them their lives. But the fight continued, and the what our children reap the benefits of, what we reap the benefits of, the fact that we can even have this podcast right now is one, the benefit of the sacrifices that they made. But let me tell you something, this right here is on the chopping block, because if you think they're only going to turn off MSNBC, trust me when I tell you, they will turn off Unfiltered and Intentional a whole lot
And,
faster
and
than
just
they
one
will
thing to let you know,
MSNBC.
Kia,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely on social media more than Liz. And I promise you,
Oh, a lot.
I'm currently banned off of Facebook for 6 months, for six
Facebook.
months now. And my other page, I remember because I initially used to stream from Facebook. I remember talking
Hmm.
about COVID. I remember getting flags say, hey, you are saying things that shouldn't be talked about. I'm literally having
Right.
people talk about, hey, you talked about the World Health Organization. Don't talk about it or you'll be fine. I'm like, what the hell? Like, so they
Right.
do come out the woodworks, but anybody who does definitely want to organize, and like I said, the Black Panthers were good with security, but we do need to
Hmm.
police our own. We do need to be right there on the forefront because at the end of the day, this administration is going to make us do it. Even if we didn't want to, it's making us do it.
Okay. So let's see. We got Chaos saying getting rid of no fault divorce is wildly
That
specific.
is true.
There's a lot of wildly specific things that they're trying to get to. Z said this sounds like a Handmaid's Tale, and I know where we are so past time, but real quick, I want you guys to remember when iRobot came out. It seemed so
Oh
fantasy.
yeah.
Simone or whatever the name of the internet girl, the computer girlfriend or whatever came out, that seems so fantasy. We are in an age where robots are a part of our lives and we don't even think about it. Where AI is a part of our lives and we don't even think about it. Where some little boy just killed himself to be with his AI girlfriend and nobody even blinked about it, right? So all of those movies and all of those shows, a lot of times they're forecasting us, and what they're doing is they're prepping for a soft landing because we've already seen this and we've already heard it and we've already assimilated, and therefore when we wake up in that reality, it doesn't seem so strange to us. A Handmaid's Tale is straight out of honest to God Mike Pence's wet dreams. He was the last vice president. He may not be this vice president, but he's right up there as crazy as fuck as the rest of the people in this administration. His crazy just had limits, and these people do not. A Handmaid's Tale, if you haven't
Yeah.
watched it,
Go watch
please
it.
do. You please do, because that is the
You're
playbook.
literally no, and for those people who haven't, maybe they haven't even heard of it. If you watch Handmaid's Tale, you're literally like, wait a second, this is like what's happening now. Like this is so ironic.
It's not that far. It's not
Yeah.
that far off. It really isn't, right? And so Earl said they're taking us back to black and white TV days. Remember all of those mean old white men treating women like property?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's interesting because at the end of the day, and thank you, Earl, for letting me know once again, I must have said it over and over again. He's only 12 days in. And this is
Hmm.
just the beginning. We have not seen.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we do not know what happened in reference to the flights that crashed. You know that there were two different instances that happened, but there are other ones that happened in December that were not mentioned. Of course, it was under a different administration, and they weren't per se
Hmm.
publicized on the mass scale. But with this being
Right.
said, there will be more and more things happening. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it's just the vibration that's out there. Where we are naturally with these energies and stuff, I feel like things are being revealed, you know.
Hmm.
And if you are sitting down, I promise you, you will stand up. You will stand up in the next 4 years by hook or crook.
Hmm.
So it's not time for us to be lazy and sitting around and talk about what we should be doing and what you should be doing. We have to go ahead and make the effort. I'm definitely, want to be able to stay consistent and at least do this every other weekend, to have this forum because a lot of people are very, very, just upset, just want to have that conversation about what's
Need it.
going on.
It's good for our
Yeah,
health.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to take the last words?
All right. So here we go, people. First of all, blessings to you. Let's just start there, right? I am so happy that you guys joined us. I hope that you are spreading the word about the show, mostly because I think that we do cover issues in a way that isn't necessarily covered on other platforms or with other spaces. I hope that we try to give you guys a platform to at least say what you're saying, and we have a Sunday evening discussion just between us. So if you can, please like, share, subscribe. Mostly, I'm going to emphasize that share part of things. Earl said something earlier that really kind of it moved me to my core. Not only does he go for himself to the black market, but he actually, if he's going to go that far out of his way, he takes orders from his friends and families too. We all need to do that. Right? And so for the record, I do a version of that too. I go to the Jamaican patty place across town, and it is 45 minutes from my job, an hour away from my house, and I'm not coming back without orders from my friends and family too. But I think we need to take that approach about everything, right? So let's start, if you can, if everybody that's watching the show could just share the link with one person, right? And that would literally double our audience in an instant. Not for any other reason than this is our community, right? And right now it feels like they're lobbing stones into the water, and every rock that's thrown causes a ripple effect, right? We all know that. Here's the funny thing is each of us has a really small rock too. If enough of us throw a stone into the water, we're gonna ripple like a motherfucker too. Right? So let's each of us pick up a stone, however big or however small we can, as of tomorrow, because today is over. Right? As of tomorrow, figure out what you can do. One thing that I do is every well, not last February, but before that, we had this Black Future Month initiative, right? So some of you have seen the shirt before, some of you have not. If you go to my website, it is grownhonestconcepts.com. I do these t-shirts in the month of February. Every single shirt sold, I will not take one single dollar of profit from. I will not. I am putting it forward for a college student, which I would also like the unfiltered community to nominate a college age student that is in preferably their third or fourth year, but I'm not married to that. The reason I picked that is because when they come into their freshman year, a lot of students do come in with some version of a scholarship, some type of savings in some cases, or whatever it is. In school, you can pay for it a little bit easier, but a lot of people drop out of school in their third and fourth year because they can't afford it anymore. So what we do is we take the proceeds from these shirts and we pay it forward for a college age student, a college student, to be able to pay for their books, right? If I could do more, I would, but I could at least buy your books for a term. And in the past, we had one recipient. She actually won. I call it 1.5 times because we shared it with her a second time when she passed it on to the next person. Her name was Zaya. She passed away, but we are going to continue this in her honor. It is going to be in her honor that we're going to be doing this one more time. So if you guys have an opportunity, please go to grownhonestconcepts.com. Any shirt, it doesn't have to be this shirt, any single shirt on there that's sold in the month of February, we will put it towards that. In the meantime, if you guys can find me or Kia and send us the name of a college student that you think is deserving of this, it's not based on grades, it's not based on anything. It's just somebody that's in school that's doing the right thing that you think has a promising future that we want to help out by just paying for a couple of their books. So purchase the shirts on the website. I don't make a dollar from it for the entire month of February. And if you have any designs that you have in mind, if I can work with it, I will bring it to life. So thank you so very much for joining us tonight. And I look forward to seeing you in
Yes,
tomorrow.
guys. Before I end this stream, I just want to let you know I said it so many times. Me growing up in New York, we used to smell, we used to sense when something bad was going to happen. You would sense when somebody was going to get jumped. You would sense when somebody's about to get set up. It's like a
Mhm.
spidey sense. Please, 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 the spidey sense should be activated at this moment because we are literally in a situation where our rights are being taken from us systematically. Them taking the civil rights liberty down in reference to the EOC. So when you complain about somebody harassing you, who do you complain to now because that department is gone? You know, there's so many different little things that he's doing that you may just not be aware of. Please, please, please go to the website, go to the whitehouse.gov, go to Project 2025, download that information so you can take the steps that you need to be proactive uh,
Mhm.
to combat different things. Go out there, please get your passport. You never know when you got a diddy bop and get up out of here. Just all the things. I understand it may sound cliche, but we are living in some crazy, crazy times. So
Mhm.
definitely hug your loved ones a little bit longer, appreciate the little things in life, and let's build this community. Let's do what we got to do. We can't save everybody because even what Liz was just saying, you know, we can do some things. We're not going to be able to save all our family members. I promise you right now. You got to let little JoJo go.
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
JoJo is going to be left behind on the side. We've been telling JoJo for the last 20 years to stop it. And unfortunately, we're just gonna have to send JoJo on his merry way, and that's it. But we can save ourselves. Once again, first law of preservation is self. I'll talk to you not next week, but the week after. Love, love,